All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me for a 60-minute Yin Yoga class with optional 15-minute journaling afterwards. So it'll be 60 minutes of slow-paced, floor-based yoga, followed by an optional 15-minute journaling session. All you need is a yoga mat or carpeted area, and you might want a few pillows or blankets nearby. You don't need any fancy yoga props, but just a few household pillows or blankets nearby will help you out. So you're gonna start in a comfortable seated position, whatever that is. You can sit crisscross applesauce or in Sukhasana with one foot in front of the other. You can take a moment, maybe rock back and forth, side to side, find a comfortable way of sitting. And then sit up nice and tall, drop your shoulders, lift your chest. We're going to begin with a breathing exercise called 4-7-8 breathing. You'll inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold the breath for 7, and then slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. So the idea is you'll inhale fairly fast, hold all that oxygen in the body, and then slowly exhale, exhaling for twice as long as you inhale. This helps to calm the central nervous system. So really beautiful breathing technique. Anytime you're feeling a little bit anxious or like your mind is getting away from you. If after a few rounds of 4-7-8 breathing, you're still having trouble with that cadence, you can switch it up to maybe like a half count. So like inhaling for 2, holding for like 3.5 seconds, and then exhaling for 4. So it's the same ratio, just with less time in between. You're welcome to close your eyes. If closing your eyes is distracting, you can keep your eyes open, just doing a soft, gentle gaze beyond the tip of your nose, so you're not focusing in on objects in your periphery. Sitting up tall, relax your shoulders and your jaw. Seal your lips. Place your tongue at the roof of your mouth, just behind your teeth. And begin. Inhale through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold the breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Slowly exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale for a count of 4. Feel your chest rise. Hold for a count of 7. Keep your shoulders soft, jaw relaxed. Slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. You can count the breath so that your mind has something to focus on. Inhale for 4. Pause for 7, savoring the breath. Slowly exhale for 8. Inhale for 4, using the count in your mind to center your thoughts. Pause for 7, keep the jaw relaxed as you count down. When you're ready, slowly exhale for 8, feeling the shoulders and chest fall as you exhale. Let's do 2 more minutes of 4-7-8 breathing. If your mind is wandering, just gently returning to the 4, 7, 8 count. Let's do one more full round of 4, 7, 8 breath. Whenever you're ready, just returning your breath to normal in and out through the nose. And throughout class, you can breathe normally without trying to force the breath. But if at any time you're feeling a little uncomfortable or you notice your mind wandering, remember that you can always come back to your breath. And sometimes just an intentionally slow exhale can help you to regroup and recenter, coming back into your body. Let's do our first posture. Come onto your back for a fan favorite, Bananasana, banana pose. So lying on your back, picture your favorite banana in your mind's eye. It can be like brown and bruised. It can be perfectly yellow or maybe not quite ripe, a little green. It could be Chiquita, Dole, Fair Trade, Organic, Trader Joe's, Costco, whatever it is. But picture that C-curved banana shape, and we're gonna make that with our body. Start by bringing your arms overhead, feet together, and you can kind of stretch up and down. Should feel nice, almost like you're having a nice little yawn in the morning. And as you're ready, start to walk your hands and your feet to the right side of your mat. Couple options. You can have your arms long with your left hand on top of your right hand. You can also cross your left ankle on top of your right ankle, and that'll help to stretch the outer left thigh and the IT band. If having your arms long doesn't feel comfortable, you can bend your elbows and catch opposite elbow and opposite hand. You can keep the back of your head on the floor or roll your right ear down towards the floor. So there's lots of choices here. The idea is you want a gentle stretch along the left side body and gentle compression on the right side body, but not a point of pain. We're gonna hold here for a full 3 minutes. If you don't feel anything at all in the posture, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the right side room to deepen the stretch. Or if it feels like a little too much, you can always bring your hands and feet back to center, closer to center, I should say, so that the stretch on the left side body and compression on the right side body isn't too much. So like I said, we're gonna hold here for 3 minutes and we are already a full minute into it. So as you start to settle into this posture, notice your breath. Maybe notice where your mind starts to go to, right? You're just gonna give yourself the gift of presence, staying present in your body, present in your breath. Inevitably, as the mind does wander, you can just notice that and gently return yourself back into a little bit of stillness. So yin yoga isn't just the physical, postures. It's also like a mental practice, right? A mental practice of stillness, relaxation, breath. And if you don't practice stillness, relaxation, and breath very often, that might be a little uncomfortable. It is for me too. And that's why it's a yoga practice, right? We're just practicing those things. When inevitably you find that maybe you're holding your breath or, mind is wandered or whatever that is, you're fidgeting, you're just going to compassionately notice that and bring yourself back into your body. With about 30 seconds left, you can stay just as you are, noting that we're near the end of the posture, or if you'd like a little bit of a deeper stretch at the end, you can bring your hands and feet closer to the right side room, stretching just a little bit more at the end. Take an inhale through your nose, feel your chest rise. Exhale through your nose, feel your abdomen fall. Breathe in and slowly breathe out. Let's be intentional with how we come out of the posture. If you've rolled your head to the right, start by rolling your head back to center. If your elbows are bent or your hands are crossed, you can uncross and lengthen. Same thing if your left foot is crossed over your right foot, you can uncross the feet. And then at your own pace, bring your hands and feet back to the center line of your body. You can bring your arms down, you can open your legs as much as feels right. If you want to like wiggle for a second or shake your head or whatever feels good, go for it. And then you're going to come into your puddle pose, like a rain puddle. So in some styles of yoga, right, we would call this Savasana or corpse pose. And often, Savasana is like very specific about having your hands and feet close together. In puddle pose, you can be like a rain puddle, right? You can open your arms and legs as much as feels good. This is just a time of stillness and breath in between postures, especially when we hold postures for like 3 minutes and, the body starts to really mold into that shape. So it's important to come back to a more neutral position in between asanas. Let's do the other side, banana pose. Feet together, arms overhead. You can take a moment, stretch up and down like you're having a nice yawn, and then walk your hands and feet to the left. So, for the sake of symmetry, if you crossed your left foot on top of your right foot on the other side, maybe on this side you want to cross your right foot on top of the left foot. Or, if you have your elbows bent on the other side, maybe same thing here. You can roll your left ear down towards the floor or keep the back of your head on the floor. Now that said, what worked on the other side might not work on this side. We are not symmetrical. And while, we're not trying to increase our asymmetry in yoga, we're also not trying to force ourselves, right, to be a certain shape. So, maybe crossing your foot on the other side felt really good, but on this side, you're like, ooh, that hurts my knee. Then keep your feet uncrossed, right? Do what feels good to your body. A lot of this practice is just trusting our intuition, trusting our body. And the more embodied practices we do, such as yoga, the more we get to know ourselves and our limits. And then the easier it is to set those healthy boundaries with yourself about doing a little less or trying something new, even if it's a little unfamiliar. There's 3 rules to Yin Yoga. They're very simple. You make a shape with your body, you hold the shape, and you breathe through your nose. If at any point that shape that you're in becomes untenable, remember that you can bring your hands and feet back closer to the center line of your body to reduce the stretch, right? Bring your hands closer to the left side of the room if you're not feeling anything at all. But then once you've adjusted, you're going to hop back into that stillness, hop back into that practice, right? That practice of relaxation. With about 30 seconds left in the posture, you can stay just as you are, knowing that we're near the end. Or if you'd like a little bit of a deeper stretch at the end, bring your hands and feet closer to the left so you feel more of a stretch along the right side body. It's a nice opening through the shoulders and chest. Nice little stretch to the outer right thigh, but never a point of pain. You can inhale through your nose and then exhale through your nose. If you've rolled your head to the left, you can gently roll your head back so you're looking up. If your feet are crossed, you can uncross your feet or uncross your arms, and then walk your hands and feet back to the center line of your body and stretch up and down or side to side or make any motions with your body that feel right, and then hop back into your puddle pose. If lying on your back with your legs straight does not feel good for your lower back, you're welcome to grab a small blanket or pillow and put it under your lower back, or you can bend your knees so that your feet are on the floor and your knees rest together. Again, the idea is, we're holding these postures for a long period of time. We're, stretching the body, right? We're working into connective tissue, into our fascia, into tendons and ligaments, as well as stretching the muscles, opening the joints. So it's important for us to have some more neutral stillness between postures, but it shouldn't be uncomfortable, right? So you can always, again, place a pillow under your lower back or bend your knees, or whatever feels good for you. As you're ready, you're going to bend your legs if they're not already, feet on the floor. Take your time rolling off to one side. You can stay here for a moment. And then keep rolling so that you're on your abdomen. No rush. We're going to do a Sphinx Pose half frog variation. So this will be both a back bend, a heart opener, and a little bit of a hip opener. So coming onto your abdomen, we're going to start in our Sphinx Pose. Elbows bent so that your forearms are on the floor. Eventually, elbows are under your shoulders. You can also walk your hands forward. My big, issue or where my problem area of Sphinx Pose is that my shoulders tend to tense up into my ears, like my neck compresses. If that's you, you are going to activate the lower arms a little bit so that the shoulders stay out of the ears. Now you can stay right here in your Sphinx Pose or join me for a half frog pose, which I'm going to do the left side first so that you can see it. You can do whichever side works for you. You can bend your left knee so that your toe flexes out. You want your knee in line with your hip and your knee in line with your ankle. So from a bird's eye view, eventually your left leg will make a 90-degree angle. This is too much of a hip opener. You can keep that knee bent, but just do it like not as acute of an angle, right? So that the knee is not in line with the hip, but the toe's still pointing out. Okay, from here, press the forearms down, drop the shoulders, and we're gonna hold here for another 2 minutes. Because this posture can be a little bit intense on the shoulders, right? We're not holding it for a super long period of time. Plus, we have two sides. So full frog pose is when both knees are bent like this, which can be quite an intense hip opener. I like a half frog pose because you get that same hip opener without it being like too much weight on the hips or the knees. So this is a great alternative if you're looking for, a frog pose in your life, but it feels like a little bit much to do both legs at once. Relax your jaw. Press your elbows into the floor. Keep the shoulders out of the ears. It's hurting your abdomen to lie on your stomach. You can always place pillows underneath your hips, your pelvis, so that your stomach actually hangs off the floor a little bit. You can also always use a pillow underneath a knee or an ankle. Or you could even place a pillow underneath your chest if that feels like a better a better Sphinx Pose heart opener, right? So lots of different options here. We are stretching the fascia on the chest, gently compressing the gently compressing the spine, especially the lower back. And again, we're opening through that hip. About 30 seconds left, just knowing that we're close to the end, right? And maybe press your forearms into the floor a little bit more to get a deeper chest opener. Otherwise, hold where you are. Take an inhale through your nose. And this time, if you'd like, you can exhale through your mouth and sigh it all out. So sometimes a good exhale through the mouth feels really good. Okay. As you're ready, you're going to slowly start to lengthen that left leg back so that the tops of your feet are on the floor And then slowly bring your elbows out to the side and lower down. So you're welcome to take a belly Savasana here, maybe looking to one side. If lying on your abdomen does not feel good, you can also return to lying on your back or on one side. Send deep belly breaths in and out through the nose to massage the front of the body. Breathe deep into any point of tension. Let the floor hold you up. If you're looking to one side of the room, you can gently lift your head and look to the other side. As you're ready, you're going to look forward and let's do the other side. So you can bend your elbows. I'm just going to turn around so that you can still see what's happening in the knees and hips. You can bend your elbows again. You can have your elbows under your shoulders or a little bit forward. You can stay here and just do another Sphinx pose, or you can try the half frog on this side. So you're going to start to bring your right knee out to the right so that your toes point out to the right as well. Eventually, you're going to bring your right knee in line with your right hip and your right ankle in line with your right knee. So from a bird's eye view, it's an L or a 90-degree angle. You can always bring the leg back a little bit so that it's not so intense of a hip opener. You can also place a pillow under your hip, under your knee, if that feels good, under your chest or under your pelvis so that your stomach can relax a little bit more if it does not feel good to be on your stomach. Holding here for 2 minutes. Notice where you might be holding on to some tension in your body. See if you can relax just a little bit more. So rather than forcing your way into the posture, fighting into the posture, you're just melting into the posture. Maybe still a little bit of activation with the elbows, the arms, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. But otherwise, lower body relaxes. Final 30 seconds, you can hold just as you are, or maybe if your leg's been micro bent, maybe try bringing the knee up a little bit in line with the hip. Maybe try lifting the chest a little higher, breathe in. If it feels good, open your mouth and sigh it out, letting go of anything not serving you. If your knee is bent in the half frog shape, you're going to slowly, carefully start to walk your foot back down so that the top of your foot is on the floor, and then slowly start to bring your elbows out to the side. You can look to one side, so maybe looking to your right with your left ear on your mat. You can keep your elbows bent, or you can even try bringing your arms down by your side, palms face the ceiling. A nice internal shoulder rotation. If you're looking to one side, gently lift your head and look to the other side. And when you're ready, look forward, place your hands on the floor, and slowly press yourself up. Take your time, there's no rush. Our next posture is called Dangling Pose. I'm going to walk you through it, and I'm also going to show an alternative to it, especially for folks that already know that Dangling Pose is not for them. So Yin Yoga in general is on the floor, but there is one exception to that, one standing posture, and we will try it now. So there's no rush. Please take your time making your way into a standing position, especially if you have low blood pressure. Get up slowly as we've been on the floor for a while. Dangling pose is, as the name suggests, we are going to dangle. So you can separate your feet, and you can play around with this posture with like how wide you want your feet. You definitely don't want your feet like a really wide step, but you could have like 1 foot between your feet, right? Like 2 or 3 feet, whatever it is. From here, you're gonna bend your knees a little bit, put your hands on your thighs, start to walk yourself down, and then drop your head, relax your head, let your head hang heavy. From here, you could put your hands on the floor, or you could bend your elbows and catch opposite elbow and opposite hand. We're gonna hold here for a full 4 minutes. What a joy. And again, I'll walk us through some alternatives to the posture as well. We're already 30 seconds in. Okay, so this is a really great way to stretch the hamstrings, to stretch out the back. You're letting gravity lengthen the spine. And it's also a nice rush of blood to the head, which is, kind of like giving yourself a nice facial, right? Just using yoga. It's good for increased blood flow to the skin in the head, to your brain, all that stuff. However, especially if you have like a history of slip discs or too tight of a hamstring, this cannot be pleasant, right? So you're welcome, if Dangling Pose is not speaking to you, to put your hands on the floor, bend your knees, and come down into a seated position for what's called Caterpillar Pose, which is a really beautiful alternative. So for Caterpillar Pose, you can have your legs long. You don't necessarily need like 3 feet between your feet, but they don't have to be exactly together either. From here, you're gonna stick your butt out, put your hands on the floor, and slowly walk forward. If you have a history of slip discs, it might behoove you to keep your palms flat on the floor and your back flat. So rather than like collapsing and letting your spine round, which can put a lot of pressure on the lumbar spine, you're pressing your hands into the floor, roll the shoulders back and down away from your ears, lengthen through your spine. And this is a better forward fold support for the back. You're welcome to place pillows and blankets and wedge them in between your thighs and your abdomen for a little extra support. Or you can just let your head relax, and same thing, you can do this with some pillows and blankets. The idea is you're getting a gentle stretch to the backs of the legs, gentle opening through the spine, but never a point of pain. So especially, the longer you hold a posture, at some point it might feel a little uncomfortable. So we still have 1.5 minutes left in this. If what you're doing is untenable, it does not feel good to your body, that's when you can switch it up, right? Maybe going into Caterpillar Pose rather than Dangling Pose. But if you're just a little uncomfortable or starting to feel, a lot of blood in the brain, that's not a bad place to be. Discerning the difference between something that's maybe a little uncomfortable because you're holding it for a while or because it's unfamiliar versus something that is causing you pain or is not going to make you feel good after class. And of course, there's a learning curve to this too. Sometimes we don't realize that something wasn't quite right until after class, and that's
not a bad thing. That's just a mental note for you to, put in your back pocket of like, oh, right, I prefer caterpillar pose, or I really like dangling pose, whatever that is for you to revisit next time you try it. With about 30 seconds left, you can stay just as you are, or if you're in dangling pose, you want a deeper stretch to the backs of your legs, you can lift your hips up a little bit more and straighten your legs so you really feel a stretch to the backs of the hamstrings. But again, never a point of pain. Take an inhale through your nose. If it feels good, open your mouth and exhale through the mouth. If you're in caterpillar pose, you can gently walk your hands up, remove the pillows, if any, between your thighs and your abdomen, and turn and lie down on your back. If you're in dangling pose, let's be intentional with how we get out of it. You can look forward, put your hands on the floor, bend your knees, slowly coming down onto the floor. Taking a moment here, maybe sitting up tall so that the blood reverses from the head down to the heart. And then you're going to turn and lie on your back into your puddle pose. So especially if you were in dangling pose, right, not only were you stretching the back of your body, you're also getting a big rush of blood towards the brain. And now we're just letting that blood go back to the heart, back to the lower body, right? If you stretched out your hamstrings there, now the hamstrings get to relax. You're really lengthening through the lower back. Now the lower back gets to recalibrate. So this time between postures is so important, both for body, mind, and spirit. As you're ready, you're going to bend your legs if they're not already. Roll off to one side. Press yourself up. So the same way that Yin Yoga calls that puddle pose rather than Savasana, Yin Yoga does some really fun other terms for posture. So in many styles of yoga, what we're about to practice is called Pigeon Pose. But in Yin Yoga, it's called Swan Pose, which I think is, no offense to pigeons, but like I would prefer to be a swan, I think. I don't know. Maybe that's showing my own bird bias. So we're going to do Pigeon Pose or Swan Pose, and then I'll show you an alternative if that does not feel good to your body. So you're going to make your way into a tabletop position. Okay. From here, you're going to start to slide your right knee towards your right wrist and bring your right foot in. From here, you're going to start to bring your left leg back so that one day both hips sit on the floor. You are welcome to place a pillow underneath your butt or your hip on either side. So place a pillow under that left hip if the right knee is bent. You might notice that, I'll show you from the front, for a lot of folks in Pigeon Pose, the hip is super high off the floor. So again, you can put a few pillows, as many pillows as you want underneath that hip for support. Okay, and from here, you can either do a folding swan, where you relax your head down, or maybe a proud swan, where you lift your chest up. And we're gonna be here for a full 4 minutes. So maybe I'll call out at the 2-minute mark, maybe if you're folding forward for 2 minutes, you can lift up for 2 minutes. All that to say, Swan Pose is not for everyone. There's some alternatives. If Swan Pose is not working for you, let's try a figure 4. Take your time making your way out of Swan. I'll show you 2 figure 4 options. The first option is to stay on your butt with your hands behind you. Cross your right ankle on top of your left thigh, and you can walk your abdomen in towards your chest, right? And this is a really nice alternative where you're still getting the stretch to the outer thigh, the hip. It's a nice stretch for the sciatic nerve. If you have sciatic nerve pain, this is a great option, but you're not putting too much pressure on your hip.
If sitting up does not feel right, you can also do this figure 4 lying on your back. You can even lift your left foot off the floor, interlace your fingers behind your thigh, and pull down. So there's lots of options to get the same stretch. Again, we're working out through the hip, the side seat, and along the side of the right thigh, but never going to a point of pain. We are halfway through. If you would like to, you can stay just as you are, which is its own challenge. Or let's say if you were doing like a proud swan, you could now fold your swan, right? There is value in staying in place the whole time, but also there's some value in maybe switching up what you're doing with the upper body in a posture that largely focuses on lower body opening. Notice where you might be holding on to some tension in your body, some worries on your heart. Just let it go through the exhale breath. With about 30 seconds left, you can stay just as you are, or some alternatives to get deeper. You can bring your right ankle forward so that your shin is parallel to your mat. Or if you'd like, you can even try doing the splits. Pigeon Pose is a really wonderful option to train yourself to eventually sit in the splits one day. Take a slow inhale through your nose. If it feels good, open your mouth and let it all go through the exhale breath. Okay. We're going to slowly come out of this. If you're in Pigeon Pose, put your hands on the floor, lift your hips up, slide the right knee back. And if you want to make any gestures with your body that feel good, right? Maybe moving your hips in circles or doing a cat-cow, go for it, and then turn, lie on your back. So there's a little bit of room for like play and movement in between the posture and the puddle pose or the rebound. That posture is a really wonderful opener for the hip. And many of us carry some tension or even some emotion in our hips. So sometimes when you're in that posture, for example, or when you come out of a hip opening posture, you might feel like a shift in perception. It could be a change in temperature, an increase in heart rate, maybe all of a sudden a sudden urge like to cry or to laugh or whatever that is. So just know, yoga is not magic, but it is magical. And sometimes we have kind of like inexplicable experiences in both body and mind when we're practicing. So again, like if you ever have the sudden urge to like cry or giggle or whatever that is, that's quite normal. It is an involuntary central nervous system response to moving your body, or a reaction to stimuli, right? And if nobody has ever told you all emotions are an involuntary central nervous response to stimuli, right? That is why they are called feelings, because we feel them. And a lot of times I think our human suffering comes not from our feelings, but from ignoring our feelings or feeling shame around our feelings. And yoga is a really beautiful place to practice. Like if you feel like crying,
Cry without judgment. If you feel like laughing, laugh without judgment, right? Whatever it is, you're just normalizing that and moving through that. Let's try the other side of our pigeon pose. You could bend your knees, roll off to one side. There's no rush. Okay. So on this side, you can come into tabletop. See, I bent my right knee in the first side, so I'm going to do my left knee. Bring your left knee towards your left wrist. Start to turn your left foot in. Slide your right leg back. And you can place as many blankets or pillows as you want underneath your right hip. You can fold forward, which might deepen the stretch to the outer thigh and hip, side seat, or you can lift up, which makes it a really yummy back bend and heart opener. And if this side of pigeon is not working, you can always come out of it and do your figure four, either in a seated position or on your back. So lots of different options here for the same stretch. And it's so important to remember that one version is not better than the other. They're just all a little bit different, and they're all really great at getting us that same stretch in a way that works for our bodies. And this side again might feel different. So maybe on the other side, there was no way you could do pigeon pose, but on this, or swan pose, sorry, but on this side, you might find like, oh, this is actually accessible. Or the other side was super easy, and this one you're like, whoa, my left glute is really tight. These are all good places to be. Holding here for 4 minutes, already a minute in. Halfway through, you are welcome to, grab a prop if it might feel good to place a pillow somewhere or remove a pillow. Maybe if you are in a folded swan, you go to a proud swan or vice versa. And also just check in where you might be holding on to some tension that's not really necessary for the posture. And just invite your body into a slightly more relaxed state. We can't necessarily reason our way out of stress, but sometimes if we just consciously tell our body that it's okay to relax, then the mind kind of follows, right? So if I tell my right big toe, it's okay to relax, let go of tension in the right big toe. Sometimes I feel my heart rate slow a little bit. My life becomes a little bit more manageable. So we just give the body permission to relax, and then sometimes the rest of, the mind-body connection starts to follow. With about 30 seconds left, you can stay just as you are, knowing that we're near the end, or if you'd like to deepen the stretch, you can take your left ankle in line with your left knee so that your shin is parallel, or you can even try the splits. You can inhale through your nose, and if it feels good, let it go through the exhale breath. Okay, let's slowly make our way out of this. Placing your hands on the floor, lift your hips up. Ooh, bring your legs back into tabletop, and any little motions you want to make that feel good to your body, go for it. And then make your way back into your puddle pose. I gravitate often towards styles of yoga where I'm told like exactly what to do at the exact time, right? Like pick up your foot now. Okay, now kick out your foot, that stuff. But I also see like real merit in styles of yoga like yin, where there's, lots of room for variations, modifications, because that does help us to start trust ourselves more than we trust the teacher, right? In a style of yoga where it's the same every time and it's pretty rigid. There's beauty in that, right? Because it's meditative. We don't have to think much. But also there's real beauty in this where you get to make some choices, right? About like, okay, am I going to do, swan pose or figure four, right? Ooh, should I, place a pillow under my head during puddle pose? That feels really good. This is just a safe space to like play around and have some fun. Okay. We're going to end with some yummy spine twists. Bring your arms out to the side, palms face the ceiling. You can have your arms nice and long, or you can bend your elbows, cactus them like goalposts. And from here, you're going to bend your knees and start to roll off to one side. So maybe I'm going to roll off to the right here so that my left hip stacks on top of my right hip. Try to keep your left shoulder down on the floor. You can have the back of your head on the floor, or you can look to the left with your right ear. Pardon me, look to the left with your left ear on the floor. You could stay right here, or if you want, you can either take the bottom right leg long, or even stretch the top left leg out to the right, and that'll stretch the IT band. So again, you can have the bottom leg long, you can have both legs long, or you can keep both knees bent with your knees and ankles on top of the other. We're going to hold here for 4 minutes. This is a great way to stretch out the spine at the end of class. And it's also a nice abdominal wall twist, which is really good for digestion, especially coming out of the weekend into a new week. This is a nice way to reset both your spine and your stomach. Minutes left here, right? If you need to adjust, grab like a pillow to place under your knees or between your knees, you can do that. Try to keep the left shoulder down so the chest is open. About 30 seconds left. Notice anywhere that you're like forcing or fighting or even like clinging with your body. Just see if you can let go and really melt into the posture. Let the floor hold you up. Take an inhale through your nose. If it feels good, open your mouth and sigh it out. If you're looking to the left, gently roll your head back to center. And remove any props you might be using. And then really take your time rolling your left hip back down to the floor. Maybe windshield wiper your legs if that feels good, or stretch out in any way that feels right. Then bring your arms and legs down, puddle pose. So now we're just letting the abdomen reset, the spine and shoulders reset. All right, the hips are pretty square in that one, so now you might find that your hips are gently opening as your toes fall open. Okay, let's do the other side. You can bring your arms out, palms face the ceiling. You can also bend your arms, cactusing them like goalposts. And from here, bend your knees, feet on the floor, and maybe roll to the other side. So I'm going to roll to the left, right hip on top of left hip. Try to keep your right shoulder down. You can keep your head on the floor or look to the right with your right ear on your mat. You can straighten your bottom left leg and keep the right knee bent, or you can kick your right leg out to the left for an IT band stretch. So again, you can have one or both legs straight, or one or both legs bent. You can place a pillow under your knee, under your ankle, anywhere that feels good. And we're just gonna hold and breathe. What a joy just to have your task at hand be just breathe, just relax. In a world that's always telling you to go, 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 what does it feel like to be encouraged just to be still? With about 2 minutes left, you can hold just as you are, or if you need to adjust or grab a prop or remove a prop, go for it. Otherwise, just maintaining that shape of your body as you breathe. About 30 seconds left. You can stay just as you are. If you want to increase your twist at the end, you're welcome to do so. Take an inhale through your nose. If it feels good, let it go. If you're looking to the right, roll your head back to center. If your top leg is bent, if your top leg is straight, bend your top leg. If your bottom leg is long, bend your bottom leg. If you're using a prop, you can slowly remove the prop. And then at your own pace, you're going to slowly roll your right seat back down to the floor. Make any motions with your body that feel good. And then arms and legs down. For final Savasana, final Puddle Pose. Take up as much or as little space as you'd like. You can put a blanket over your body or, a pillow under your head if that feels good. Just give yourself permission for a little bit of luxury and relaxation. I always come out of a yoga class a little bit different, sometimes a lot bit different than when I entered. Before this class, I was in a meeting, I was running late, I was rushing around, and now I'm feeling pretty relaxed. I don't know about you. The same thing that we, come out a little bit different after a yoga class, we also often kind of come out a little bit different, after a month, right? Or after some sort of other time marker has passed. So once a month, I offer an optional 15-minute journaling session that helps us kind of reflect on the month that has passed, look forward to the month to come, and center ourselves in the present moment and the things that we can control in a world where we often cannot control much. You can stay in Savasana or Puddle Pose for as long as you'd like. There's no prior journaling experience needed. And if you don't want to write, but you want to listen, you can just stay in an extra long Puddle Pose here. If you do want to leave, you can just silently show yourself out of the Zoom room. Thank you so much for coming. Otherwise, at your leisure, at your own pace, you can slowly press yourself up. Maybe grab a drink of water if that feels good. You can grab a pen and a paper to write with. And we will begin in 1 minute. There's no rush. Take your time. I'm going to grab some water. Okay, beautiful. So I often also find that, after a yoga class, when we move the body and we get to know ourselves a little bit better, you're often perhaps in a more creative state, a more loving state, a more honest state. And so this is, I think, a really beautiful time to create, and to reflect. And journaling is one tool both for creativity, honesty, reflection. Keep in mind that this is your writing. Nobody has to see this ever. You could even tear it up or even in a very fire safe way, burn it if that ritual feels good to you. But just keep in mind that this is just for you. So you can write whatever is on your heart, knowing that it is purely for you. Or you could share it with others if that feels good to you. Okay, so we always start with a simple prompt. Write 20 things that you are grateful for. 20 things you're grateful for. The people, places, events, objects, weather, nature. And gratitude is anytime you're feeling a little bit like down or untethered. I find that a gratitude practice, whether it's writing it down, writing it in your phone, or even just thinking to yourself, let me think about 20 things that I'm grateful for. It's a really, a beautiful option to, remind ourselves of how much we do have while at the same time not negating, there's always going to be some like crappy stuff happening in our life. Sometimes we have what's called like toxic positivity, where like we've all done this, right? Like you share something sad with your friend and they go, everything happens for a reason, or here's the silver lining to that, which is not useful, right? We've all had that happen to us and have probably done that to other people. Gratitude to me is a space where we can, acknowledge that sometimes life is really crappy, and also acknowledge that even during crappy moments, there are like beautiful things like clean water out of a tap, or sunshine in the sky, or a dear friend, right? It's not pretending that that crappy stuff doesn't exist. It's just acknowledging that there's some nice stuff going on at any given time as well. Okay. So as we enter into August, which for most folks in the Northern Hemisphere is the hottest season of, or the hottest month of the year, let's reflect on like how your body reacts to heat. And also if there's other like sensations in your life that you find that you're highly reactive to. So it could be like loud noises, it could be certain smells, could be like heat or cold, right? Like temperature. So as we enter into a season that is all about like, this sensation of heat, can think at first, like, how does heat affect your body? And then also reflect on like, how do other outside things in your environment affect your body, right? Could be like, maybe you're allergic to wool, or you love, like a soft blanket. Like, how do those things, sensations affect you? So what sensations are you sensitive to? And as you reflect on maybe things that you can't control, like the temperature outside, for example, or like, walking past somebody smoking a cigarette, if you don't like the smell of that, what are ways that you take care of yourself? So, with the things that you notice, external stimuli that you cannot control, with those things that you're sensitive to, how are you taking care of yourself? What are your like tools? So an example would be in August, I make sure that I drink more water, right? If any of these prompts are particularly speaking to you, you're welcome to continue reflecting on them. Otherwise, we've talked a little bit about August. Looking back to July, are there any themes or lessons or patterns that you see standing out in July? So looking to the month that has passed, did you notice any patterns, themes? Is there anything that you learned about yourself in July? As you reflect on patterns, themes, or perhaps what you learned, notice if the patterns and themes that you're seeing are things that you like, things that feel meaningful, or maybe lessons to be learned. If there are any patterns or themes that you noticed in the month of July that you did not particularly enjoy, start to think to the month ahead and reflect on perhaps small ways that you can interrupt these patterns, change themes, or use what you learned in July to carry you into the month of August. So what can you take from July to carry you into August? And last but not least, as you look to the month ahead, if there is a word, phrase, or mantra that you would like to bring with you into the month ahead, you can write that down now. And if you'd like, this is something that you can literally put into your back pocket. You can make it the screensaver on your phone. You can put it in your wallet, or write it on a Post-it and put it on your mirror, or it's just something that you can return to in your mind's eye whenever you need it. So taking all that you've learned from July, from the month behind us, taking what will be perhaps a hot month or a month that might challenge you in other ways, can come up with a word, a phrase, or a mantra to carry you into the next month. Okay, you are welcome to continue journaling, reflecting, meditating for as long as you'd like. For the sake of time, we will end our yoga and journaling time now. And if you'd like, you can just place one hand over your heart, one hand over your abdomen. You can close your eyes if that feels good. And if you'd like, you can practice repeating that word, that phrase, or that mantra back to yourself now. Beautiful. Have a wonderful day. Thank you all so much for joining, and I hope to see you again soon.